Once again this week we kind of go in a couple of different directions. The first direction is by finishing up our look at the heritage component of Christian cultural heritage, and the fourth of our examinations of various topics in the history of Christianity. This particular topic focuses on the issues of church and state, or church and society, how those two have intertwined at various times in Christianity, and of course implicitly asks the question as to what kind of relationship should church and society, or church and state, have with each other. Our focus is on the public connection between church and society, more so than any sort of private individual type of interaction. We move from the historical examination of Christianity to think about our contemporary interaction with culture. How are we as Christians to be engaged with the culture around us? This week our focus will be very much on the theoretical. So we'll be looking at a variety of biblical passages, we'll be looking at a variety of principles from Christianity to think about what are some ways that we as Christians, or what are some principles that provide us as Christians some foundation for thinking about how we interact with people in the world. What should be our responsibilities? What are some ways in which we can look at the world around us? Particularly, we'll finish that section up by looking at and talking about some Christian virtues and values. As Christians, how are we to live in this world? What are the things we are supposed to value? What are the kind of characteristics we should have as Christians? And how should that be reflected in the ways that we engage society? We'll finish up this week by paying attention to some videos by Professor Scott Ray. Professor Ray focuses on ethics and is a professor at Biola University in California. In the videos that he presents, he talks about some of the ways in which people in our contemporary culture make ethical decisions, and then looks at some ways in which, or some principles by which Christians should make ethical decisions. Here again, as an outside video, you have to, of course, be very critically focused, paying attention to some of the things that he suggests. Might not all be biblical, but he does present some very important points about a Christian worldview, a Christian ethic. In those videos, what I'm looking for you to pay attention to are the different philosophical systems, the philosophical ethical approaches he talks about in the first video related to how we approach in our culture the question of ethics, but then also in the second video some of the characteristics or qualities that makes a Christian ethic, or a public ethic of Christianity, makes that different. What are the components that he focuses on? Because he lays out some specific characteristics that differ or differentiate Christianity's approach to ethics with how our culture approaches ethics. And so we'll be focusing predominantly on this theoretical component as we look at and pay attention to the topics for this week.